Ever feel like our political system is just stuck?
Totally. Like same arguments, same gridlock. Makes you wonder, is it them or is the whole system messed up?
Yeah. And that's exactly what we're diving into today.
Oh, this is going to be good.
Right. So we've got this New Yorker article. Is it time to torch the Constitution?
They really went there.
No kidding. But it makes you think, right? Like, is the Constitution, from way back when actually causing some of the political drama we see today?
Huge question.
Yeah.
And the article, it goes deep.
So break it down for us. What's the core issue here?
Well, it boils down to this tension at the heart of the Constitution itself. It's trying to stop two really different things, like at the same time.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Lay it on me.
So on the one hand, it's supposed to protect against what they call tyranny of the majority.
Basically mob rule,
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. But then at the same time, it's trying to prevent a single person or group from grabbing all the power, like a dictator situation.
So the Founding Fathers were trying to walk this tightrope between too much power in one place and chaos.
Exactly. Balance. Right. But the article makes this point, that balancing act, it feels almost impossible now.
Because things are so different now than back then.
Right. I mean, some experts in the article are saying it's like trying to run today's world with all our technology and everything on a computer from the 1700s.
Okay. Yeah, that's a pretty outdated operating system.
Right. The software hasn't caught up, so to speak. And that brings us to this legal scholar, Erwin Chemerinsky.
Wait, Chemerinsky, as in like the free speech on campus Chemerinsky.
The one and only. And it's interesting because he actually started out just critiquing how the Supreme Court interprets the Constitution.
Not like the whole thing needed a rewrite or anything.
Right. But now he's gone full-on radical, saying we need a whole new document.
Wow. Okay, so what changed his mind?
Well, he lays out a bunch of arguments. But first, I just have to imagine him writing that book, maybe about the First Amendment and all that, and suddenly there's like a student protest happening on his front lawn. Megaphones and everything.
Oh, the irony. Talk about a real-life case study.
Right. Life has a way of testing our principles. But anyway, all jokes aside, his shift from just debating interpretations to saying, scrap it, we need a do-over. That's a big deal.
So what are his big reasons? Why does he think the Constitution is failing?
Okay, so first up, he goes after the Electoral College.
Which has been a hot topic for a while now.
Totally.
Yeah.
And Chemerinsky's argument is that it's just not democratic anymore. He throws out this crazy statistic. States representing only 22% of the entire U.S. population. They could actually elect the president.
Wait, so you're telling me a handful of states could decide for everyone?
That's what he's saying. And it's happened. Think back to 2016. The winner of the popular vote didn't actually become president.
Which doesn't exactly inspire confidence in the system.
Right. And in this super polarized climate, Chemerinsky says it's a recipe for disaster.
Yeah, I can see why that would make him nervous.
Okay, so that's the Electoral College. Next on his list, the Senate.
As in the whole equal representation thing.
Yes. He says it's crazy that a state like California, with almost 70 times the population of Wyoming,
gets the same number of senators.
Exactly.
So someone in Wyoming basically has like 70 times the voting power.
That's his point.
Okay, I can already see how this is going to ruffle some feathers.
Oh yeah, we're just getting started.
Just like talk about your uneven playing field. And Chemerinsky is saying we're basically stuck with it?
Pretty much. Amending the Constitution, that's supposed to be the way to fix things, but
like it's practically impossible.
It's crazy hard. And Chemerinsky argues the Founding Fathers, like they made it too hard to change, so now we're stuck with these rules that might not make sense anymore.
Yeah, I mean, over 11,000 amendments proposed, and only a tiny fraction actually make it through. That says something, right?
Totally. Though to be fair, the article doesn't just like hand the mic to Chemerinsky and call it a day.
So there are other perspectives on this whole Constitution is broken argument.
Oh yeah. You've got political scientists like Pierson and Schickler. They're like, hold on, let's not throw the baby out with the bathwater just yet.
Okay, so what's their take? What's their big beef with the way things are going?
Well, they say the core problem is something they call the stacking of cleavages.
The what now? Stacking of?
Okay, you're using the big words now.
Huh. Sorry, jargon alert.
Yeah.
But it's a cool concept, I promise, basically. Imagine back in the day, you've got Democrats, Republicans. They disagree on stuff, sure, but there's some overlap, right?
Like, I can see where you're coming from, even if I don't agree with everything. Some common ground.
Exactly. But Pierson and Schickler are saying that now. It's like all the lines have hardened. Every issue, every single debate, it's instantly polarized.
So no more gray areas, just black and white, pretty much. And they say social media and the internet, that's like throwing gasoline on the fire.
Makes sense. It's so easy to get stuck in your own little echo chamber online.
Right. You're just surrounded by people who already agree with you. It's hard to even imagine the other side's point of view, let alone actually talk to them about it.
Okay, so where does that leave us? If even someone like Chemerinsky, who's studied this stuff his whole life, is like, burn it all down, is that really the only option left?
Whoa, whoa, hold your horses. Just because things are tough doesn't mean we go straight to torch the Constitution.
True, but it's got to be tempting for some folks. A clean slate.
Sure, but remember, even if we could pull off a whole new Constitution, there's no guarantee it would actually fix things. Could even backfire.
Okay, so worst case scenario time, what are we talking about here?
Well, what happens if the whole thing gets hijacked, like by lobbyists or partisan groups with their own agendas?
Suddenly, we're not fixing the system. We're just putting the same problems into a shiny new document.
Right. Or imagine this, just the attempt to rewrite the Constitution. That could be so divisive in itself.
Oh, man, can you imagine those debates? The arguments?
Right. And it could lead to even more gridlock.
More than now. I didn't even think that was possible. Okay, you're not painting the rosiest picture here.
Hey, just trying to keep it real. Look, a new Constitution, it's a big, messy idea, not a magic solution.
So what if we hit pause on the whole blow it up scenario? What are some less extreme ideas out there?
Well, this is interesting. Even some conservatives are saying we should at least amend the Constitution.
Really? But they probably don't agree with Chemerinsky on what to change.
Exactly. They have their own list. Like, they're all about things like limiting the federal government, putting stricter rules on spending.
Like that Convention of States movement I've been hearing about.
That's the one.
So even within the folks who think the Constitution needs a refresh, there's a whole range of opinions on how to do it.
Exactly. And that's kind of the point of the article, you know?
Yeah.
It's not trying to tell you whether the Constitution is good or bad. It's more about showing you all the different sides of the debate.
It's like everyone's got their own version of what the perfect Constitution would be.
Right. Which probably means there isn't a perfect answer. This isn't a problem you could just solve with a new rule book. You know?
Yeah, it's way more complicated than that. Okay, so lots to think about. Where do we even go from here?
Well, that's what's so great about this article. It's not about giving you the answers. It's about asking the right questions.
And having those tough conversations, even if they're uncomfortable.
Exactly.
Because maybe, just maybe, by actually talking about this stuff, we can actually start to bridge some of those divides.
And wouldn't that be something?
It's a start, right?
Okay.
So, folks, as you go about your week, ponder this. Is the Constitution the source of all our problems? Or is there something deeper going on here?
Big question.
Definitely food for thought. Until next time, happy diving. It's kind of like we're all arguing over what time it is, but nobody's actually checked if the clock is even working right.
Ooh, I like that. And that brings up another big point from the article. Like, even if we could wave a magic wand and get a brand new Constitution, would it actually fix anything? Or are we just blaming the rule book for problems that run way deeper?
Blaming the recipe when you don't trust the chef, right?
Exactly. And they make this point about trust in government, or the lack of it being a huge part of why things are so polarized. And that's not something you can just fix with a new law.
It's like the less trust there is, the more everyone digs in their heels and it just spirals.
Totally. It's a vicious cycle. And this article doesn't pretend to have all the answers, but
it gets you thinking.
It does. It makes you really think about how we rebuild that trust. Because that's the root of it all, isn't it?
It's bigger than just tweaking a few rules here and there.
Way bigger.
Wow. Okay. So we've gone from, should we tweak this amendment, to, do we need to scrap the whole thing in like an hour? That's a deep dive for sure.
But that's why we're here, to tackle those big, thorny questions.
And hopefully leave with a little more understanding of, well, how we got here.
And maybe some new questions to ponder.
Always. Well, folks, we're out of time for today, but keep those mental gears turning. Is the Constitution perfect? Definitely not. But is it the root of all our problems, or is there something more going on?
Lots to think about.
That's it for this deep dive. Thanks for joining us. Until next time.